Do you know what the most dangerous day of your life is? It's not the day you fail, it's not the day you lose everything. It's the day you look back and realize you were staring at a screen while your life passed you by. A young man named Owen Carter reached that day at 27 years old. And the worst part? He didn't even realize he had arrived. Perhaps this very same pattern is repeating in your life and you haven't noticed it yet. There is a study from the University of California that should make anyone stop everything right now and think. It discovered that every single time you interrupt what you are doing to check your phone, reply to a message, or open a new tab, your brain needs 23 minutes to return to the same level of concentration it had before. If you've been following this channel for a while, you probably already know this fact. But if you are new here, this information might scare you a little. When you get distracted during a moment of focus, you completely break your workflow. But I'm not talking about when you get distracted for a few seconds or catch yourself wandering in thought for a brief moment. I'm talking about when you set aside what you are doing and start browsing on your phone for a few minutes. 23 minutes on average to get back to that level of focus. Now think, how many times a day do you do that? The global average is 96 times. This means most people, and maybe you are among them, technically never enter deep focus. Never. The brain spends the entire day trying to return to a state it never truly manages to reach. But that is still just the surface of the problem, because there is an even more terrifying study published by Harvard University that discovered something that goes beyond productivity, beyond focus, beyond unfinished tasks. It found that 58% of young adults report feeling little to no purpose in life, more than half. And when they asked these people what was behind this, what was preventing them from feeling that life had direction, meaning, and weight, the most frequent answer was the unproductive use of technology. Digital distraction. So, what science is telling us is this. Distraction isn't just stealing your time. Distraction is also stealing your purpose. And there is a brutal difference between these two thefts. Lost time you can still try to make up for. Lost purpose, that comes with a different cost. Today, this video will show you exactly how this happens. And more importantly, I am going to introduce you to 3 Japanese concepts that will help you overcome this. These concepts are Ichigo Zamay, Imakoko, and Ikigai. If you've made it this far, it's already a sign that this content is for you. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on this video, and comment down below. What is your biggest distraction today? It could be your phone, social media, or your own mind that just won't stop. Tell me. Now, let's get to Owen's story. Chapter 1. The man who lived on the verge of starting. Owen Carter had every reason to be doing well. 27 years old, freelance graphic designer. Worked from home, was his own boss, set his own hours. He had real talent, clients who came through referrals, a portfolio that impressed at first glance. On paper, Owen's life looked like a success. In reality, Owen was trapped. Every day started the same way. He woke up with intention. He opened his laptop with determination. And then, almost without realizing it, his phone entered the scene. A notification, a message, a video popping up on his feed. 40 minutes later, Owen was still in bed, laptop open, with his mind somewhere between a meme and a political argument that had absolutely nothing to do with him. By the time he finally made it to his desk, the day had already been fragmented. The energy that should have gone toward his main project was spent on petty, inconsequential decisions. And the project, the thing that actually mattered, was pushed for later. Today wasn't productive, tomorrow I'll truly start. Owen repeated this phrase for 3 years. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. The problem with tomorrow is that it never arrives, because when tomorrow becomes today, it brings along all the same distractions, all the same impulses, all the same escapes, and the cycle resets. Owen wasn't lazy. That's the point most people get wrong when looking at someone in this situation. Owen was distracted from himself. There is a difference between the distraction that makes you lose time and the distraction that makes you lose direction. Owen was suffering from both at the same time, and he couldn't even tell them apart. Now think to yourself, what is the phrase you repeat most often when your day isn't productive? There is probably a version of "tomorrow I'll start" inside you. You don't need to change anything right now. You just need to name it. Because the first step to escaping the cycle is recognizing that you are inside it. Chapter 2. The weight Owen carried in silence. There was something about Owen that no one saw just by looking at him. His father, Robert Carter, was a mechanic, 34 years in the same workshop, calloused hands, a back bent to the exact proportion of the time he spent under cars. A good man, an honest man, a man who rarely made it home before 7 p.m., and when he did, he would often fall asleep on the couch before even eating dinner. His mother, Sandra, had a dream of becoming a teacher. She even completed her first year of pedagogy. When Owen was born, that dream was paused. What was meant to be a pause became permanent. Sandra spent years working at a convenience store to supplement what his father earned. They never talked about sacrifice. They never made Owen feel like he owed them anything. But Owen knew. Since he was 18, he carried this silently. The awareness that two people had given up whole parts of themselves so that he could have choices they never had. Owen's true goal, his real goal, the one he rarely spoke aloud, was to retire his parents before their bodies decided for them. Not to show off, not to prove anything to anyone. The image he had in his mind was simple. His father waking up on a Tuesday morning, no alarm, no commitments, no worries about bills to pay. Drinking coffee without any rush. This image, this imagined moment, was Owen's Ikigai. Ikigai. It describes the reason why you wake up in the morning. It's not just a goal, it's a compass. It is the center of gravity of your existence. Owen had a clear Ikigai. The problem was that he spent his days so distracted that he could never walk toward it. The independent brand he wanted to launch, the design studio, the clients he admired, the work that mattered, all of that was the vehicle to get there. But the vehicle was parked, engine idling, burning fuel, going nowhere. Now I want to ask you the same question Owen never stopped to answer. What is the image you carry in your chest? The real image. The concrete scene that, when you truly think about it, moves something inside you. It could be retiring your parents, seeing your children grow up without financial worries, or waking up one day knowing that what you do truly matters. Whatever it is, write it down right now, on paper, on your phone, anywhere. Because you are going to need this image in the next chapters. Chapter 3. The night everything broke. Owen had trouble with a client, and this client's name was Marcus Reed, founder of an educational technology startup. He had chosen Owen after seeing his portfolio. He said he wanted someone with vision, not just execution. It was the kind of client Owen dreamed of having. The kind that opens doors, the kind that changes trajectories. In the first few months, Owen delivered well. Then he started running late. Then he started delivering halfway done. Then he stopped replying with the same agility as before. Nothing dramatic, nothing that caused a fight, just a slow drifting apart, quality dropping in the exact same proportion as distraction increased. Marcus didn't send an angry message. He didn't file a formal complaint. He simply stopped reaching out. He hired another professional. He left in silence. Owen found out by accident, seeing the startup's updated portfolio on social media. The new pieces, the new visual identity, the work that could have been his. That night, Owen turned off his phone and began to reflect more deeply on his own life, on where his decisions were leading him. He sat in the dark of his apartment for a while, and in that silence, something that had been muffled for a long time began to surface. The question he had avoided for 3 years. What am I doing with my time? Even deeper, what am I doing with my life? You don't need to lose an important client to have a night like Owen's, but you do need to face this question. So pause here with me for a moment. Think about the last 6 months of your life. Has there been real movement in the direction of what matters to you? Not the appearance of movement, posting on social media, planning on paper, talking about plans. Real movement. If the answer takes time to come or arrives with discomfort, that is already valuable information. Hold on to that. Chapter 4. The book and the line that changed everything. The next morning, Owen woke up different, quieter, more honest with himself than he had been in a very long time. He was tidying up the apartment, an automatic gesture of someone who wants to bring order to something when their inner life is messy, when he noticed a book on the shelf that had been sitting there for 2 years, unopened, an introduction to Japanese Zen philosophy that a friend had given him back when Owen still thought he had time to read. He opened it randomly to the middle, and he found a line. Ichigo Zamay, one practice, one mind. The concept, born in Japanese Zen monasteries, describes a state of total presence in a single action. The monks who practiced it did not divide their attention. When they prayed completely. When they swept the courtyard, they swept completely. When they ate completely. Not because they were superhumanly disciplined, but because they had understood that total presence in a single thing is the only way to truly do anything. Owen stood still with the book in his hand. It wasn't a mystical revelation. It was a recognition, a feeling that he had known this for a long time and had completely forgotten it. How long had it been since he had done just one thing? One thing, no music, no podcast, no phone by his side, no open tab in the corner of the screen. A single task with all the attention it deserved. He couldn't remember. What about you? Can you remember the last time you did just one thing? Completely alone, without dividing your attention with any other stimulus? If the memory doesn't come quickly, the problem we are talking about is already embedded in your routine. Ichigo Zamay isn't a technique you need to learn from scratch. It's a state you've already known at some point in your life, perhaps in childhood, when you played without noticing time pass. The question is, how do you get back there? Chapter 5. James Nakamura and the Right Question. Owen started going to a cafe near his apartment to work. He needed to get away from the environment he associated with paralysis. That's where he met James Nakamura, a man around 65 years old, the son of Japanese immigrants, a retired architect who showed up every morning with a notebook and a cup of tea. He worked on sketches. Owen never found out of what. There was a quality to that man that was hard to name, a presence. It was as if James were completely inside each moment without being anywhere else at the same time. On a rainy day with no new clients and no urgent projects, Owen asked James how he managed that. That calmness, that ability to be so whole. James thought for a moment. Then he asked a question instead of answering, "When was the last time you did just one thing?" Owen felt the question land in a way he didn't expect. In the meetings that followed, Owen and James grabbing coffee once a week without formality or structure, James began introducing concepts that Owen had read about in the book, but still didn't know how to live. James didn't lecture. He asked questions, and his questions carried a specific weight. They were always about now, about here, about what was right in front of Owen at that exact moment, not what had been, not what could be. It was in one of these conversations that Owen heard about Imakoko for the first time. You probably don't have a James Nakamura in your life right now, but the question he asked Owen, you can ask yourself right now. When was the last time you did just one thing? Sit with that question. Don't try to answer quickly. Let that question make you uncomfortable, because the discomfort it generates is exactly the size of the space that distraction has occupied inside you. Chapter 6. The Time That Doesn't Exist. James explained Imakoko in the simplest way possible. Ima means now, Koko means here. Together they describe the only place where life actually happens. And then he made Owen think about something that seemed obvious but wasn't. Where are you when you are not here? Owen remained silent. James continued. Most people live in two places that do not exist. The past, which is already gone and cannot be changed, or the future, which hasn't arrived yet and perhaps never will in the way you imagine. And while they live in those two non-existent places, the only place where things can change, where real choices happen, where life actually moves, that place remains empty, the present. Researcher Gloria Mark from the University of California spent years studying the attention behavior of workers in modern environments. She discovered that most people spend less than 20% of their time truly present in what they are doing. The rest of the time, the mind is elsewhere, anticipating, ruminating, planning, reacting. Less than a fifth of the day truly lived. The philosopher William James, considered the father of American psychology, wrote a sentence in the 19th century that feels like it was written for the 21st. The faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. He was describing Ichigo Zamay before the word ever reached the West. And neuroscientist Andrew Huberman from Stanford University goes further. He describes focus as a literal muscle. Every time your attention drifts and you bring it back, you are doing a repetition. Each repetition strengthens the neural circuit responsible for voluntary concentration. Every time you give in to distraction without realizing it, the circuit weakens. Owen's problem wasn't a weakness of character. It was that for years, without knowing it, he had been training his inability to be present. And now, for the first time, he was beginning to train the opposite. Imakoko starts with a question you can use right now, and use throughout the day, every day. The question is simple. Where is my attention at this moment? Not as a judgment, just as an observation. Is your attention here on this video, or has it already drifted to a notification that popped up, to what you are going to do next, or to a conversation you had yesterday? Practice bringing your attention back without drama. This gesture, noticing and returning, is the repetition that rebuilds the muscle of presence. Every time you do this, you are training the opposite of what Owen was training without realizing it. Chapter 7. The First Hour. James suggested something specific, a single rule. Choose 1 hour every morning, before any screens, one thing, just one, and stay there. Owen started with the simplest project he had. No pressure, no expectations, phone in the bedroom, one open tab, no music. The first few days were uncomfortable in a way he didn't expect. The silence felt heavy. His mind drifted every 3 minutes, to the phone in the bedroom, to the message that might have arrived, to the Instagram feed that might show something new. The urge to check was physical, almost like an itch. But Owen stayed. And within that space of discomfort, something began to happen that he didn't realize he was waiting for. He began to hear himself again, not just executing tasks, noticing how he felt while doing them, what energized him, what drained him, what made time pass in a completely different way, what made him look at his finished work with something resembling pride. These were simple insights, but they were his, and it had been a very long time since he had heard anything from himself beneath the noise of notifications. By the second week, the hour became an hour and a half. By the third, Owen noticed he was arriving at the cafe before James just to have more focused work time before breakfast. James's rule is simple enough for you to start tomorrow morning. 1 hour, before any screens, a single task. Phone in another room, not on the desk, not face down, in another room. If an hour feels like too much, start with 30 minutes. The size of the block matters less than the quality of presence inside it, and when your mind wanders, because it will, don't interpret it as a failure. Interpret it as a repetition. Each return is the training. This is Ichigo Zamay in its most concrete practice. Chapter 8. The discovery Owen didn't expect. There is a piece of data that most studies on distraction fail to mention, and it might be the most important one of all. Researchers at Harvard University conducted a study tracking more than 15,000 people over years, measuring their happiness levels in real time, alongside what they were doing and thinking at any given moment. The result was surprising. The variable that most determined a person's happiness level wasn't what they were doing. It was whether their mind was present in what they were doing. People sweeping the floor with their attention completely on the broom were happier than people on vacation whose minds were somewhere else. Presence generated happiness regardless of the activity. Distraction generated unhappiness regardless of how good the situation was. Owen read this study one night. James had mentioned it, and he went looking for it, and he was left with a question that wouldn't leave his mind. If he had spent 3 years doing things he loved, design, creation, meaningful work, but with his mind always somewhere else, how much of it had he actually lived? How much of his own life had slipped through him like water through a leaky cup? This question changed the weight of everything, because suddenly Ichigo Zamay and Imakoko stopped being productivity concepts. They became matters of life. Think about the last time you were completely inside something, a conversation, a task, a moment with someone who matters to you. How did it feel? You probably weren't looking at your phone. Time probably passed differently. You probably felt more alive than in most other moments of the day. That wasn't a coincidence, that was presence. And presence is what separates a life that truly happens from a life that just passes by. Chapter 9. When tasks gained a different weight. 6 weeks after his conversation with James about Imakoko, Owen was working on a new project, a visual identity for a small music school, a modest client, a simple budget. In the past, this would be the kind of project Owen would do on autopilot. He would deliver something reasonable without real presence, just to get paid and move on to the next. That day he spent 2 hours completely inside that project, present with Ichigo Zamay. One thing, just one. When he finished and looked at the result, there was something different about that work. A quality that had nothing to do with technique. It had to do with attention, with real care, with the difference between just doing something and being present while doing it. The school came back 2 weeks later, asking for more services. They referred Owen to another client, who referred him to another. Owen hadn't changed his technical skills. He had changed his presence, and it was at that moment that something connected in a way he had never seen before. Every hour of present work was a step toward the brand he wanted to build. Every well-served client was a stepping stone. Every morning he chose to be here instead of scrolling was a movement, small, invisible, but real, toward the image he had carried for years. His father drinking coffee on a Tuesday morning without rush, without worry. Distraction hadn't just stolen Owen's time. It had stolen the steps that would take him there. And now, one step at a time, he was reclaiming his path. Go back to the image you wrote down in Chapter 2. That scene that moves something inside you. Now think, what is the simplest, most concrete task you could do tomorrow that brings you closer to it? I want the smallest action possible, an email you've been putting off, a project you've opened and closed 10 times, a conversation that needs to happen. Choose one, just one, and when you sit down to do it with total presence, without dividing yourself. Because that moment, as small as it seems, carries a weight that goes far beyond the task itself. It is a step in the direction of the image you carry. Let me ask you one more thing. Do you have an Ikigai? Is there something, an image, a person, an imagined moment, that when you truly think about it, something moves in your chest? Because if there is an even more important question. How many days do you spend distracted from it? Owen spent 3 years that way. 3 years with a clear purpose in his head, and his days completely disconnected from that purpose. Not due to a lack of intelligence, not due to a lack of talent, but due to a lack of presence. Modern distraction carries a cost that nobody calculates correctly. You think of it as lost time, as productivity that never came, as tasks left for tomorrow. But the real cost is different. It's the accumulation of days lived outside of yourself. It's the sum of mornings that started with intention and ended in scrolling. It's the weight of looking back at the last few years and not being able to identify any real movement toward what matters. The Harvard study says that 58% of young adults feel little to no purpose. Gallup reports that 45% of Gen Z feels a lack of meaning in life. And when asked what lies behind this, the most frequent answer is digital distraction. Technology is not the enemy. The enemy is the absence of presence, and presence is what Ichigo Zamay teaches. One action, one mind, completely here, undivided. Presence is what Imakoko describes, now, here, the only place where life actually happens, and presence is what connects every small task, every hour of work, every project delivered with care, every morning chosen with intention, to your Ikigai, to the reason why you wake up. Owen discovered this in the most painful way, losing a client he admired, sitting in the dark of his apartment with his phone turned off for the first time in years. You don't need to get there the same way. You can start today, now, with just one thing. Close a tab, put your phone in another room, choose a task, and stay on it. Not because it will make you more productive, though it will, But because every time you do this, you are one step closer to what truly matters to you. And the steps add up. They always add up. If this video found its way to you today, perhaps it wasn't by accident. This channel exists for this, to remind you that there is a path and that you are capable of walking it. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the next video might be exactly what you need to hear. And if you want to continue this journey, watch the video showing up on the card right now. Remember to watch it and apply it. Knowledge without practice is just another pretty distraction. Thank you so much for your attention. See you in the next video.